Tonight, on First at 9, this Saturday the 23rd of August 2025. Ranil Rubicon. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe remanded until August 26th for allegedly misusing state funds. Former President later hospitalized due to health complications. Witch hunt allegations. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and several MPs condemned Wickremesinghe's arrest as politically motivated. All actions were in service of the country, not for personal gain, says Wickremesinghe before arrest. Preemptive preparations. The Presidential Secretariat covered all expenses of Wickremesinghe's trip to the UK through the Foreign Ministry, confirms Deputy IGP. Sri Lanka police preparing for possible protests on the 26th of August. Battle in the skies. All set for Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival to adorn Sri Lanka skies tomorrow.
Asian Paint Causeway Aquasafe මිලදීගෙන LED TV run voucher ඇතුළු තවත් හැකි රසක් දිනා ගන්න.
This is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Ada Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms. Recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was remanded over the misappropriation of state funds and later admitted to the prison hospital yesterday, was transferred to the National Hospital Colombo today. He was admitted to the intensive care unit of the Colombo National Hospital. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was ordered to be remanded by the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court last night.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is facing allegations of misappropriating state funds, was produced before the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court at around 3 p.m. yesterday. The case was called before Colombo Fort Magistrate Nilupuli Lankapura. Appearing for the Criminal Investigation Department, Additional Solicitor General President's Counsel Dileepa Peris led the case for the prosecution. He presented facts pertaining to a visit undertaken by former President Ranil Wickremesinghe to Cuba and the United States of America from the 13th to the 20th of September 2023. The Additional Solicitor General further asserted that on the 22nd and 23rd of September, former President Wickremesinghe engaged in a private visit to London, passing it off as an official visit to misappropriate state funds. The visit in question was a convocation ceremony organised by the University of Wolverhampton in London, where former President Wickremesinghe's wife, Professor Maithri Wickremesinghe, was conferred an honorary professorship. President's counsel Dileepa Peris also revealed that a group of 10 persons, including the former president, his wife, the former president's personal secretary, a Navy doctor, and 4 police personnel engaged in the visit in question. According to the prosecution, they had allegedly spent 16.6 million rupees within a span of 1.5 days. Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Peris revealed in court that the first piece of documentary evidence on the visit, dated 16th August 2023, categorized the visit in question as a personal one. He went on to note that a document dated 7th September 2023, the visit was categorized as simply a visit, with the word personal being removed from the subject title. The prosecution also noted that the visit in question was later categorized as an official visit after its conclusion. Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Peris then raised concern as to how a set of documents on the same matter can be amended multiple times to materially alter facts on a matter. The prosecution went on to assert that for a visit to be classified as official, the visit must further national interests of the country. Relying on the facts outlined by the prosecution, the Additional Solicitor General submitted to court that the visit in fact was a personal one. According to the prosecution, an individual named V.S. Karunaratne filed a complaint addressed to the President on the 17th of March 2025, after which the President's office commenced an internal investigation and conducted an internal audit. Thereafter, on the 23rd of May this year, the Secretary to the President had filed a complaint with the Inspector General of Police on the same matter. Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Peris further revealed in court that statements were recorded from 33 suspects related to the incident, after which Ranil Wickremesinghe, the 8th Executive President of Sri Lanka, was named a suspect and arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department at around 1:15 p.m. yesterday. Allegations against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe include violation of Section 5(1) of the Public Property Act No. 12 of 1982, read with several provisions of the Penal Code including Section 386, dishonest misappropriation of property, Section 388, criminal breach of trust and Section 398 on cheating. Since the charges have been filed against the former president under the Public Property Act No. 12 of 1982, the Additional Solicitor General expressed the prosecution's vehement objection to the granting of bail. President's counsel Anuja Premaratne, representing former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, responded to the prosecution's allegations and asserted that the former president undertook the visit in question, accepting an invitation extended by a university in London. President's counsel Anuja Premaratne also noted that all visits undertaken by a president are considered official. He further noted that the government is responsible to take care of the president during all such visits. Despite the complaint being made off the back of an internal audit conducted pertaining to the misappropriation of state funds, President's counsel Premaratne drew attention to the lack of information in the National Audit Office report of 2023 on the allegations made against the former president. President's counsel Anuja Premaratne went on to assert that the case against his client can be maintained since his client abolished presidential immunity and highlighted that the prosecution filed the case in court with malicious intentions. Accordingly, raising concern on Ranil Wickremesinghe's ailing health, President's counsel Anuja Premaratne urged court that his client be granted bail. Subsequent to 3 hours of extensive legal submissions, the Fourth Magistrates Court adjourned for nearly 4 hours to deliberate the facts laid before court. Thereafter, the court convened at 9:45 p.m. and issued its order. Accordingly, issuing the order, Colombo Fourth Magistrate Nilupuli Lankapura noted that the invitation letter submitted to court, claiming it to be official, was not provided to law enforcement authorities probing the matter previously. The court also noted that the 33 individuals questioned over the matter never mentioned such an invitation. While acknowledging that it is too soon to arrive at conclusions, the court took notice of the prosecution's stance on the invitation letter being one drafted after the visit. Fourth Magistrate Nilupuli Lankapura ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to conduct an investigation into the matter. However, the court proclaimed that the visit in fact was not an official one, adding that attention must be paid on expenses incurred during the visit. Colombo Fourth Magistrate Nilupuli Lankapura took cognizance of the prosecution's assertions on the funds, particularly concerning the fact that the funds expended on the visit belonged to the state. Since the defence counsel failed to provide evidence on the contrary, the court's opinion was that there is an offence to be tried under the Public Property Act. The court went on to assert that for bail to be granted to an individual charged under provisions of the Public Property Act, special facts must be led before court. After considering the submissions made by the defence, the court held that the special facts presented failed to cross the threshold outlined by law. Therefore, Colombo Magistrate ordered that the suspect, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, be remanded until the 26th of August. After the court order was issued, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was taken to Magazine Prison Colombo at around 10:15 p.m. last night.
ඔබතුමා ජනාධිපති කරලා නතර කරන්නේ ඔබතුමා ජනාධිපති
Police personnel, the Police Special Task Force and the Riot Police were deployed around the court premises to ensure no disruption to public peace. At around 10:40 p.m., the former president was brought to the Magazine Prison Colombo. Following a medical inspection upon arrival, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was admitted to the prison hospital over high blood pressure and high blood sugar levels. Over worsening health conditions, the former president was transferred to National Hospital Colombo later today, pursuant to recommendations of a committee comprising doctors as well as a consultant. Former President Wickremesinghe was then transferred to the emergency treatment unit, after which he was transferred to the intensive care unit of the hospital. According to reports, the former president was transferred to the intensive care unit due to dehydration.
රුපියල් 8900ක මාසික වාරිකයකට brand new TVS Excel 100 යතුරු පැදියක් ගන්න.
Now, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and a number of other political figures paid a visit to the Valikada prison hospital to inquire into the condition of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who remains in remand custody. Addressing the media following their visit, they collectively condemned the arrest, describing it as a deliberate act of political revenge rather than a pursuit of justice.
A number of prominent political figures, including members of parliament, gathered at Valikada prison this morning to check on former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who continues to be in remand custody. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, accompanied by a delegation of Samagi Jana Balawega MPs, was among the first to arrive at the Valikada prison hospital.
It is deeply troubling that certain individuals have taken to social media to predict how the law would be enforced in this particular case. These statements are in contempt of court, and they also happen to be a massive blow to the country's democracy. The need of the hour is national development, and that requires unity. That is the primary reason why we must come together.
Shortly after, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa also made his way to the prison hospital to personally inquire into Wickremesinghe's health.
I don't believe he's overly troubled by these developments. This is politics. This could happen to any of us. In my view, arresting someone over something so trivial is unnecessary. Without a doubt, this is a politically driven act of revenge.
Leader of Savra Janabalaya, MP Dilip Jayveera, also paid a visit to express his concern and support.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is not my political ally. On the contrary, he is an ally of incumbent President Anura Dissanayake. I've told Wickremesinghe previously that the government and he are playing two entirely different games. He got into trouble because he tried to play an unfamiliar game. Yes, I challenged the government to arrest Ranil Wickremesinghe, but not for something so insignificant. President Dissanayake himself has previously accused Wickremesinghe of serious corruption. But is this what it comes down to? This whole episode reflects the narrow-mindedness of the current administration.
Meanwhile, several other politicians who arrived at the premises expressed their thoughts to the media.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe now thinks that everyone should unite together as the opposition to stand against government repression. Before coming to power, this government promised to bring Wickremesinghe to justice over various allegations. They highlighted the Butland Commission report and even debated it in Parliament. Although the government claimed to arrest Wickremesinghe under those charges, they failed to do so. Later they raised the central bank bond scam as grounds for arrest. Then came the allegation about the issuance of 250 liquor licenses. Yet none of those charges held up. However, now they have arrested the former president on allegations of misappropriating government funds during a foreign trip. Ironically, it's the president's own secretary who filed the complaint. This clearly indicates that this is an act of political revenge. If this is the case, heads of state must draw a distinct line between their personal and official responsibilities. Even President Dissanayake should personally finance his private engagements, since those aren't state matters. The country itself will have to suffer the repercussions of such acts. If the country's rule of law collapses, the people would lose their trust in its law. Despite political rivalries, we cannot abandon the former president in this situation. This is the same leader who stepped forward when the nation faced bankruptcy. This is the same leader whose own home was torched during that crisis. Is this how such a leader should be treated?
Now, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's arrest dominated international news, with a number of leading news outlets reporting the controversial matter. Several news outlets also credited Wickremesinghe for leading the country during Sri Lanka's worst ever economic crisis.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's arrest made headlines across the globe, with major news outlets such as BBC, Al Jazeera, Reuters and the Associated Press extensively reporting on the matter. The BBC outlined that Wickremesinghe assumed office as president in 2022 in the wake of Sri Lanka's worst ever economic crisis, which triggered a popular uprising. In the meantime, Al Jazeera reported that Wickremesinghe, who led the country during the devastating 2019 to 2024 economic crisis, had been investigated over a visit he made to London. According to Al Jazeera, the visit was made to attend a University of Wolverhampton ceremony where his wife was conferred an honorary professorship. Reuters quoted Nishantha Sriwarnasinghe, a United National Party member, who proclaimed Wickremesinghe's innocence and suggested that the case was politically motivated. Nishantha Sriwarnasinghe also stated to Reuters that the incumbent government is mistreating the leader who saved the country when its economy collapsed. Meanwhile, the Associated Press reported that under Wickremesinghe's leadership, inflation fell, the local currency strengthened, and foreign reserves increased despite facing public backlash over his stringent austerity measures, including raising taxes and utility rates imposed as a part of a bailout package secured from the International Monetary Fund. Ranil Wickremesinghe was scheduled to be the chief guest at the India-Sri Lanka Youth Conference organised by the Commonwealth Youth Council in India on August 24th. Several Indian news outlets also featured the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
A court in Colombo has sent Sri Lanka's former President Ranil Wickremesinghe to 4-day custody. Now, he is the most senior opposition figure to be arrested under the anti-corruption crackdown by this new leftist government in Colombo.
Against Mr. Wickremesinghe regarding the misuse of the state funds, and more importantly, what are the next steps in the legal process for him, and what are the possible outcomes we are looking at?
But this case is not isolated. It is part of a nationwide crackdown on corruption launched by the new president of Sri Lanka.
Now, the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe has drawn sharp reactions from all sides of the country. Political analyst Professor Jayadev Uyanguda described the incident as a turning point in class conflict, while former President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council Salia Piris, linked it to Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon, urging caution in irreversible political decisions.
Commenting on the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Moratuwa Municipal Councillor of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Attorney at Law Lihini Fernando, warned that the former president's arrest sets a dangerous precedent. Sharing a statement on Facebook, Fernando noted that if former President Wickremesinghe's stopover in London after an official tour is considered criminal under the Public Property Act, then the same principle must be applied to the incumbent President Anurukumara Dissanayake, who used official vehicles and security for personal visits and political meetings. Concluding her remarks, she warned that the criminalization of the overlap between public and private life could have far-reaching consequences, such as future leaders constantly facing the risk of prosecution for performing even the most ordinary personal functions while in office. In the meantime, political analyst Professor Jayadev Uyanguda says Sri Lanka has entered a new phase of political struggle marked by a visible clash between traditional Colombo-centric elites and emerging non-elite social forces. He described the arrest of the former president as a turning point in contemporary politics, calling it a symbolic moment in a new kind of class conflict now playing out in public view. Meanwhile, former president of the Bar Association, President's Council Salia Piris, commenting on former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's arrest, said certain moments in politics can be described as crossing the Rubicon, referencing Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon River with his army in defiance of the Roman Senate, and added that such decisions must be made with great care, wisdom, and with a view to the long-term aspirations of the country.
Welcome back. Now bringing to you more news on the recent arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe. In a statement made prior to his arrest by officers of the Criminal Investigation Department, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe asserts that his actions were carried out in the interest of the nation and not for personal gain. The statement was made publicly by the United National Party Deputy Leader Akhil Viraj Karivasam during a special press conference held in Colombo today.
The arrest of a leader who courageously stepped forward during one of the country's worst economic crises is deeply disheartening. At a time when no one else took responsibility, Ranil Wickremesinghe led from the front. While there may be concerns regarding certain expenditure, that is a separate matter. The way they dealt with him was wrong. I would like to share with you a brief statement the former president made prior to his arrest. I have always worked for the betterment of this country. I have never sought personal gain from any of it. What is happening now reveals the true face behind their governance. What is happening right now reveals the true face of the government. I do not endorse any of these politically motivated attacks. While we respect the court's ruling, it is troubling that certain individuals on YouTube seem to be able to predict the court's decision in advance. This raises serious concern about the politicization of certain branches of the state. I spoke with former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga earlier today. She conveyed her strong disapproval of the arrest and asked me to share her concern with the public.
Why is this government so afraid of a former president? Yes, mistakes may have been made, but who hasn't made mistakes? Is the current president using public funds for personal commitments, or is he travelling using public transport? These are the questions the public should be asking. If there is a misuse of state funds, they could have simply asked the former president to reimburse the amount. These funds were passed in Parliament in 2023 under the president's budget head. So what has changed all of a sudden? Why this fear around Wickremesinghe?
Ranil Wickremesinghe phobiaවක් හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, a meeting was held this afternoon in Colombo under the patronage of former Presidents Mahinda Rajapaksa and Maithripala Sirisena. The meeting was attended by members of the opposition.
We are making arrangements to apply for bail on August 26th. Once bail is secured, we will proceed with our legal and political actions. If bail is denied, we will continue the struggle for his release. This is clearly a politically motivated move, and we are prepared to prove that if necessary. Yes, several members of the opposition have come forward in support. The government's decision has triggered widespread backlash, not only from within. We are prepared to unite with anyone in defense of democracy. Ranil Wickremesinghe is not someone who would flee the country. This situation could have been handled differently. There was no need for remand custody. Even a letter submitted just yesterday could have been taken into consideration. However, instead, the police requested that the former president be remanded. The police could have proceeded with investigation without requesting remand. There are proper procedures for handling such matters. This decision, in my view, is driven by narrow political motives, and such actions carry consequences. This government, like all others, will not last forever. In time, they will have to face accountability for this decision. It also reflects the government's failure to understand the role and stature of the executive presidency.
Sri Lanka police confirmed that authorities are probing the former presidential secretary for allegedly approving funds for the foreign visit of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is currently in remand custody. Meanwhile, hinting at a protest over the arrest of the former president on the 26th of August, The police affirmed that all required measures are in place to ensure public order and national security.
The total expenditure related to the foreign visit of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe along with his delegation to the United Kingdom was transferred by the Presidential Secretariat to the official bank account of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This amount fully covered the expenses of the former President, his spouse and their private secretary. According to the internal audit reports of the Presidential Secretariat, costs incurred for police personnel and 2 Navy officers accompanying the delegation amounted to over 3.2 million rupees. This figure excludes airfare and solely includes on-ground expenses in the UK, such as accommodation, meals and local transport. Investigations have confirmed that the Presidential Secretariat transferred the funds to the Foreign Ministry, which in turn transferred the funds to the Sri Lankan High Commission in the United Kingdom. The expenses were approved by the Secretary. However, I am unable to provide further details at this time as investigations are still ongoing. I am not in a position to comment. Any such decision will be determined through the course of the ongoing inquiry.
මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොලිස්පතිතුමා විශේෂ සාකච්ඡාවට කීපයක් ඇඳවලා මහජන සාමය ආරක්ෂා කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය ඉදිරි පියවර අනිවාර්යෙන් ගන්නනවා.
Now, Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa claims that the government did not interfere in the investigations related to former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is currently in remand custody. He made this remark while responding to questions from journalists following a program held at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital in Galle today.
The Criminal Investigation Department reported the relevant information regarding the case, and based on that, the court delivered an order. The independence of the judicial system has been protected. The government neither interfered in the case nor did it interfere in the investigations. Therefore, court proceedings concerning the former president's matter took place without any intervention. We believe that through this case, the public's trust in the judicial system has been bolstered. I see this as a moment that demonstrates that everybody is equal before the law. Those involved in media observe how legal proceedings develop and may speculate or predict outcomes. Some may have believed the court would grant bail while others thought it would be denied. These predictions are similar to fortune telling. Some turn out to be true, others do not. They have no real impact on the judicial process. If anyone accuses the government based on such predictions, that amounts to contempt of court. When the court has delivered a verdict without interference and someone claims that prior comments or predictions influenced that decision, it undermines the credibility of the judicial system.
Now, the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court issued a notice ordering former Central Bank Governor Arjun Mahendran, a key suspect in the 2015 Central Bank bond scam, to appear before court. The order was issued by Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali Jayatunga off the back of a request made by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. According to the notice, Mahendran, who is currently residing in Singapore, was ordered to appear before court on the 26th of September. During submissions made before court, the magistrate was made aware of the failure to properly execute a previous notice issued last year. Accordingly, the Bribery Commission requested court to issue the notice in English to ensure proper execution. The Bribery Commission has filed legal proceedings against the former CBSL governor under the Prevention of Corruption Act, alleging that he caused financial losses to the government by selling bonds worth over 10 billion rupees to Perpetual Treasuries Limited during a bond auction conducted by the Central Bank on the 27th of February 2015. Now, the Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival was inaugurated last night, kicking off a vibrant celebration of culture and artistry. At the ceremony, it was announced that the Colombo International Kite Festival is now featured in the prestigious calendar of international kite festivals.
Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival 2025.
Adding creativity and artistry to the skies of Colombo, the Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival is all set to take place tomorrow from 1 p.m. at the Golf Face Green. The festival, organised by TV Derana, the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau and the Sri Lanka Police, will be attended by 500 local contestants and foreign contestants representing 25 countries. The inauguration ceremony of the Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival was held last evening with grandeur and festivity. The ceremony saw the attendance of Deputy Minister of Tourism, Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe, Inspector General of Police, Attorney at Law Priyantha Weerasuriya, and the senior administration of the Derana Media Network. The foreign contestants partaking in the Kite Festival received a warm and cordial welcome at the event.
මහත්වීප පහක පිරිසක් අද අපත් එක්ක එකම වේදිකාවක එකම තැනකට එකතු වෙන අවස්ථාවක්.
I must remind you we have 55 world-class competitors from 25 countries joining us, and altogether we will have over 600 participants joining in Colombo to soar high the colors, the freedom and the free peace and harmony.
Prominent Sri Lankan singers Randhir Vitana and Ashanti Dialvis joined in launching the official theme song of the Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival.
Colors clash in a painted wave. It's freedom, we fly the moment we crave.
Colombo, Colombo. Once again, Derana, for bringing that to Colombo. I think it's not just flying your kite here, but I'm sure you are bringing Sri Lanka's flag higher in the world. That will create so much more opportunities for our island nation.
Accordingly, this kite festival helps us convey to the world that Sri Lanka is a secure nation where tourists can travel without fear.
Derana Media Network is dedicated to promoting local values while simultaneously embracing modernity. We are also delighted to announce that the Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival will now be included in the prestigious International Kite Festival calendar, a recognition bestowed upon us by the International Kite Federation.
At the ceremony, souvenirs were awarded to foreign contestants participating in the Kite Festival as a token of appreciation.
Feet on the ground, kites in the air, spinning all around.
The Derana Signal Colombo International Kite Festival will commence at 1 p.m. tomorrow at Golf Face Green. Registration of contestants will be open from 11 a.m. onwards, marking the conclusion of the event.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.